My name is Timothy and this is TA Garage. This week I'm planning on getting some work done on this wheel lift that I've gotten a while back. Right now I got it in kind of two different pieces. If you don't know what a wheel lift is, this would go up underneath the truck and the hydraulics, and you'd have a hydraulic pump. This one had an electric one, which I'm not using. I'm going to use a PTO. But what you do is you'd have this underneath the truck. That boom extends from there. And then you'd have the car tires or truck, whatever you're fixing to back up and tow. This one's a little bit older and a little bit weirder. The newer ones will have another arm that will fold out. So that way you don't have to get out of the truck and it's all automated. You can do it inside. This is an old one. Not sure exactly how this one works, but the other old ones I've seen would have another arm like this that would go about right here, so you can get the tire in there, and you would slide another bar about the length of these two that'd go in there, and you put pins in, and you got 3 adjusting holes there that they would slide in. That would lock your tire in place, and then you put a strap or chain over to keep the tire locked down. This one's not exactly this way, and I'm not sure exactly how they did that part. But I'm going to end up adding the extra forks or bars on it anyways, because I feel like that'd be better. And then I'm going to do something with the sliding locking pin style. I'll have to do something with that. But what I'm worried about now is when this was off another truck, I believe it was a Chevrolet, and the frame widths are different, I had to add this beam to it. This is currently sitting upside down and kind of flipped. So that piece goes to the back, the very back of the truck, and this would connect to the frames about where the axle is. And then this center piece, there's a pin that goes in here, which is right here. This is currently sitting in the right orientation, and this is basically flipped upside down. But I kind of got it spot welded and welded in a few areas. I need to finish welding that. I've already kind of cleaned up the welds because I've had this sitting outside, so it's right rusty on me again. But it should be all formed and placed. I just need to finish welding it all up and making it solid. Part of the strength, because this is going to have a lot of force on it, I cut holes to these plates and put this tubing, which is 3/16 2x4. So that way it's kind of boxed in a little bit, and I'll weld on the outside and the inside. Then this was part of the original beam, which was this 1/2-inch stock that went across. Ended up having to cut that and added these back on further back, but I actually put thicker ones to match this beam, which is kind of a support, a lateral support to keep it from pushing back and forth. And yeah, you get more once I get it back on it and flipped up. But I'm going to go ahead and start getting some of this welded up. Hopefully I can get a bunch of it done tonight, depending on how much my welder feels like doing. This thicker stuff turned up as high as it is, because I want to burn it all the way through as much as I can. It tends to overheat itself and shut itself down. Kind of a safety on it. In the video, these do not look square. They're not meant to be. It was already set up this way beforehand, but it also allows me to get the pin out of one side. So it's still square with the truck and everything, so it's all good to go on that. Again, that's still doing the lateral support. But yeah, I'm going to get started on this. Hopefully I can get it finished tonight. Alright, well, I forgot to hit the record button, or meant to, and I didn't. So, here where we're at. My welder decided it got too hot and it was done for tonight, so I'm done too. About bedtime. Don't look too close at them, but I gotta grind this back one off. I need that to be a really, really good one. So I'm gonna grind it down and then really lay on to that one. May even put me a couple straps over to help give more surface area to it. Well, if I can get you guys in frame. Put a couple straps here to help kind of reinforce that, kind of wrap around that on the back side. That and did multiple layers on a bunch of joints, like down here. It's got 3 beads on it, and I'll pretty well weld these up pretty good. Kind of overdoing it probably, just to make sure I'm getting it. Mainly the way I built this, everything is pushing with each other, so it's metal pushing the metal and not really working with the weld. Even here, or at least with my welds, here there's going to be force going down that way and also force going that way. So it's against the beam, and it's actually not really a bunch of push and pull. Most of that's maybe here with this for the lateral, but it's kind of, the metal's kind of linked into each other. Kind of also the reason why I cut the hole out instead of just welding to that. So instead of being on the surface, I get more welded area, and this plate is also boxing in the tube. So everything's kind of helping each other out. Yeah. I'll call it a night. Get back on it tomorrow. Alright, so it's the next day. After I got done recording, I got to looking at the pin here that holds this in place. And that's greasable. It's pretty tight on that. But I noticed this thing had a lot of plate in it. It goes this way. Yep. And well, pretty sure that plate is here. Just from wearing out. And that's supposed to bolt in these. But it's not really that tight of a end on it. And honestly, I don't see a reason why this needs to be moving around. I mean, it's going to have a little bit of play, but it doesn't need to have as much as it needs to. So what I thought about, trying to help beef this up a little bit, I'm sure that's just because of cheaper to do it. I got 2 of these big nuts. Cut this off, put these on, and I'll drill the holes through here. And weld these on. And I can drill this out just big enough. It's just right there at the size, once I drill those threads out, that this pin will probably get tight in there. This will be a lot stronger of material than this. It would help size that down. Help it a little bit more. Because this isn't supposed to swivel or turn or anything. That's all supposed to happen in here with the grease fitting. That's a solid pipe all the way across. So it would help. You know, if I can get it down to like this again, it'd be plenty. Also need to fix that. You're supposed to be able to take that out because that's how you pull the cylinder out. And they had a long 9/16 bolt, and that's way too small. So that'd be another thing I'd fix. But I'm going to go ahead and weld and continue welding until the welder decides it's done for a little bit. And I think I can get it pretty well done. I'm going to weld all I can, then grind this back down and weld it while the welder cools off just a little bit. Yeah, I'm going to put this out there, start welding on it some more. Alright. Started raining. And right at the end of that, the welder decided it was done for now. Maybe I can weld again. I went ahead and cut these little spacer pieces off here. And there's not much meat on that. And that was literally the only thing really holding that. Doesn't really look like it wore out. It just kind of crappy to begin with. So that'd be a lot better. I just need to cut those threads out. And I'll finish smoothing them down. That'd be a lot stronger. And then I'll also go in from the inside and weld it up. Kind of beef it up a little bit and have to cut down. But since welder's cooling off, I want to put one more good bead underneath. There's a lot in that. Because I kind of had to fill in a gap and then was welding up a bunch in there. But I want to put one more pass on to kind of finish something like that up over there, over here. And it started to rain. But yeah, I'm going to try to see if I can not break my arm with the drill and drill these out. See if I can get this set up. I think this is the drill bit. What is this, 5/16, 15/16? Get my calipers here. Oh, no, way over here. I'll do this the proper measuring way. Precision. That's going to drill about that big of a hole. And the pin. Ooh. So that would not be the correct size hole. But I could use that drill bit to get started. Just to cut those threads out. And I'm assuming I'm going to need a 1-inch. Yep. So that will get me started on cutting the threads out. Because my drill is just about croaked. And it's really going to hate this. But good thing it's a cheaper Harbor Freight. Then see how this mic does with drill noises. This may get sped up in parts. Especially if I have problems with the drill. It's going to make it a lot longer. Whoops. Putting the extra handle on because the handle on the drill is breaking. So we're going to aim that about just like that and turn it down. Oh! Yep, this is going to be fun. Didn't hurt too bad. Got that one cut through. Now where's the beacon? And it's stuck in there. So while it's stuck in there, go ahead and drill the other one out. Just need 2. That's an inch hole, 15/16. It's got like a little lock thing on it. Keep it from... Oh. Yep. This check's done for. Really? Trying to get it out of the chuck, I broke the drill bit. Well, that's a good cut, too. Oh! That's kind of funny. Huh. Oh, wow. This already had a fractured crack from machining. Yep. So when something usually breaks, it's shiny. If it's a fresh break. See how that's only the outside shell where they harden the surface? Mm-hmm. And the rest of it is like rusted? That was the only part that was holding on to that drill bit because it fractured. And the reason why that's dark is because it's an old brake. Just so you guys can get a... That was just for me tapping it, which if it was hardened, it broke, but it makes sense why that part broke. Yeah. I knew those weren't very good anyways, but... More you know! Kind of reading stuff like that, when stuff breaks, you can kind of figure out things. So that wasn't entirely my fault. I'm trying to get that out. Now I got to get this out. It has little teeth in there, you know, like a normal drill bit, and this chuck is not liking to come out, and that got it just enough to get it out. Yeah, these dogs, or whatever you're going to call them inside that, they're slipping on big spline stuff. It's just slipping right over and biting harder, and that's where it usually locks or strips it out. Need a 1 inch. That's 15/16. Alright, well, it was right underneath the camera. This is the one from the new kit, because there's no tangs on it. Which means this drill is not going to like grabbing this. Oh, that chuck's ruined. It's locking in place, and I'm not even to it yet. Oh! Sometimes you can oil them, but not really supposed to oil while you're drilling. You use that to cool it. Some people do. Oh, that's really hot. I'm glad that didn't break. I know it's going to be hot, so I use paper towel. It's still going to be hot, but... Whew. Maybe I'll use a little bit of PB Blaster. Hate doing that when it's hot, because it just hardens it. Okay. And that's probably very, very hot now. So we're going to do this. Just made that a fun way for it to go down. And do this one. And we'll lubricate this one. It went through. We're just gonna let that go. Ploop. I'll put that one in. And oil it down. Do the same thing to it. Drill is very, very, very hot in my hand. Alright, those are done. For now. I have to drill the little holes. Get to that later. Alright, so my welder decided it was done again. I went ahead and put a big piece of angle iron that I had. I think it was 1/4 inch, what I had left over. And I put it on right there. I was going to use some U-bolts on the edges, but I got to put some more beads on that. Really weld that in. Mainly just to help as much as I possibly can with these two pieces holding together. Which it's on there pretty good, but that's just kind of help. If it did decide to crack, that should help hold that back and keep it from not. May have to trim this one down. I'll weld it up, trim it down. The back one, probably get the same weld up underneath and trim it off. I don't need. Definitely overkill just using what I got. Just want to make sure that that's going to work pretty good. I'd rather that be what I did overbuilt than something else. You know, like factory weld or something. I might do a little bit of figuring with the pins because I don't have enough quite room to slide the pins out, but I'll worry about that tomorrow. With those the nuts on the pins. Ain't got enough clearance to get the pin through, so I might have to figure out something there. But I'm gonna call it a night and get back on this tomorrow. Alright, so it's the next day, and it's raining today. Maybe I can get this video put out today. Going to finish where I left off and build up a couple of these around this big plate. And I put on a couple more beads to make that good and strong. And then I'm going to weld the bushings out of old nuts that I've made. Put them on here. I did notice a problem, and I will get into that after I get this welded up. So yeah, I'm going to see if I can get that done real quick. Alright, so I got all that pretty well welded up pretty good. I'll eventually have to come back and cut that piece off, hanging up over there. Yeah, the welds ain't the greatest, but I think it'll stick. Ooh, hey, that's hot. I rest my knee on that. So, my thinking here is, these are going to be better bushing ends, or whatever you want to call it. Let me set you guys down so you can see. There we go. Alright. So, where we're at here, if I use one of these bushings, I have one end that's a little bit further, specifically kind of for this reason and the way it was set up. Let's say it's on this side. Got 8 inches from here to here on this side. The problem with that is if I have that nut welded, a little tight, take this off. We'll do this the easier way. Do it this way. So if I put it in like that, and if I were to make this solidly mounted, I can't get it all the way out. The pin hits. So, I can't really notch that because that's a good strength point. It looks like that I am that far over. So I'm kind of curious if I can make this work. I'm assuming that's about 3/4 of an inch. Which if I had a little bit more wiggle, I could get it to come out. That's another thing I could do. The other thing, this piece here that goes in it is only 5 3/4 wide. And this is only, well, we'll say 6. So I could push those in a little bit, and that would give me just a little bit more room. So I'm going to try that and get that bent in a tad. I'm also going to get a square to see how out of square or square those are. That should work. Kind of. Maybe. This probably won't work. Yeah, it won't work because the weld's there. Yep. Okay. Well, I'm just going to grab a hammer and start smacking. May go ahead and try to tack these in. If I do this, I want to set the pins. I think they were up and down. Should be fine. I may put those little like lock pins in it. If I can get them going. A bolt probably be better. I think that's what they had in it. This is saying to be very precise anyways. You want to kick it back as much as you can though. Let's see y'all. Probably speed plate this a little bit. And I'm basically just going to be getting this welded up, tacked in, see if I can get the rod to come out cleanly, and making sure all that works. That way I can slide the pin out. And once all that's for sure is good, I'll drill the holes for those bolts to go through. That's why I'm putting the flats up on top. That way I can do that. I should be able to run the bolt this way. It's the way it was, so that's maybe the way I'll do it. Could run them that way. But I'm going to have more. Oh, I guess it really matters. I think it'd be easier for me to drill the hole downward like that. So I'm going to do it that way. Alright, so I was going to start taking this piece apart. That way I can fix some of these wallered out spots here. I'm fixing that, figure out what I need to do, and what size bolts. I got my wife Ashley painting this. We're just going to hand brush it. She don't know how to spray yet, so she's going to be brushing it. I've been cleaning out the shop, and it looks like it's fixing to rain. Clouds are kind of moving in pretty good, so I gotta go run that, put that in the storage stuff, and I'll leave y'all here with Ashley. Alright. Got this back plate off. Had to cut one of the bolts off. It wouldn't come off. Also got hit in the eye with whatever was in this. Yeah, that was nice. I need to turn that valve forward so that way I have enough room to slide this whole tube, this section here to here, out. Well, I guess I can inspect the cylinder. And I can get a little bit more room to work on these holes here. There's a couple of them are wallered out. And gotta figure out what I'm gonna do there. And that's the bracket that holds the back of the cylinder and also goes onto that. So yeah. Let's see if I can get this turned and get this thing out. That was a heavy clunk. Why was that a heavy clunk? Well, unless they got it built to where you have to take that pin out and slide it out that way. Be a possibility. Which would be a good safety thing, because if that cylinder ever went. Huh. Oh well. Well, I got just enough room to mess with this now. So that'd be alright. I think there's a safety thing keeping me from getting all the way out. Which is a good thing. So I'm thinking there's like a plate welded back here. There's something. Unless it just jammed. Makes sense. But I don't know. I got to the point where I need to. Alright, well I'm gonna go get me something to drink and ponder what I need to do here. So yeah. Alright, I did some thinking. And these were originally a 1/2-inch bolt. They are pretty slightly larger now. These are really bad worn out. 5/8 bolt almost goes through, so I'm going to go ahead and drill these out to 5/8. But the problem with that is, if I drill these out 5/8, I'm not leaving a lot of meat here for the bolt would hold, but this would rip out. And this ain't very thick, but this piece here goes on the outside. So I can't really beef it up on the outside. And you can't weld this on because that's the only access you can get to this hydraulic. So it's kind of nice to have that. I'm not sure if, especially if this tube has to slide through this way to come out, yeah, kind of have to have this removable. This has plenty of meat. I'm not really worried too much about down here. Mainly because most of your weight's going to be up and forward and back, and that's going to be plenty. Not rarely you're going to have down, but you're also going to have 2 more points here. So my thought was, and I don't know if I'll use this plate exactly, but putting a plate on the inside, I'll still have room. Drill me the holes and weld that plate in. That should give me enough room to still use the cylinder. That would also kind of box and beef up this, but giving it the extra thickness, it'd have to rip through a lot thicker instead of the thinner. But I'm thinking 3/16 or a little bit bigger or something like that. I got several strap pieces of frame, so I can use that. And that would help the 5/8 bolt, which 5/8 bolt would give it more of a flatter surface area too. And everything else is 5/8, so kind of helps. I think that was kind of like the weak point of them, maybe, just out of thinking. But we're going to move on to this and go ahead and install in the truck. It's pretty well dry enough it'd be fine. And that way I don't have to worry about it. And I have to get some bolts for that anyways because I don't have any more. And I can also look at getting some hydraulic lines and having, I put that piece, kind of mock it up in there with some smaller bolts and stuff. I can kind of figure out where size hydraulic lines I need and figure out the layout and stuff. That way you can run town once or twice instead of 10. Makes it a little bit nicer. So yeah, I'm going to back the truck up and get this installed. It's already been installed. I just have to undo 6 bolts on the back, and then I can just put the other ones in and then re-put the back ones on. And I'll show you how that all mounts up. Got the truck back. Of course, the carburetor's got problems now, and the starter remessed itself up. So I'll be doing that here shortly. So I'm going to put this on, show you guys underneath, and that may be toward the end of the video. Yeah, it's been a kind of a hard week for me this week, so not a whole lot going on. But yeah, get this in and show you kind of a little bit underneath the truck, I guess. So currently, this is upside down. It's got to get flipped. That goes on the back, and I got 4 holes. So 6 bolts on the back, go through the bed and the frame. I just took the washers and everything off. And then there's 4 over here, but I only used 3 of them. One of them was already in the frame, I think. If not, then it was for a smaller one that I don't have. But it's 2 5/8 and probably either 1/2 or something. I had to take one of the rivet holes off right there, so the bolt will run through there. And then that holds the back. We're going to get this thing flipped around and put up. Alright, so we got it under. It took a little bit. Had to undo these back 6 first. We got it under. So this is the underneath. Let's see if I can. So it goes into the frame. Got a 1/2 inch and 2 5/8. One shares the crossmember bolt, and one here. I wasn't going to do that one, but it was already halfway in, so I went ahead and just put a 1/2. The hole was already there. That one, that's not worth really putting one in there. I think those holes were already there, but it's not worth me really putting one in up there. And then back here, kind of like the way it was, just pre-drills and goes through. I've already had this drilled and set up. had to re-drill holes in the bed. And I use that as my reference for the holes for the bed. That's all centered up. See? And yeah, it's pretty good and braced, kind of low profile, still sits up. Passes the springs and everything, so they should never hit. So that's all good. Oop. All kind of fits, got plenty of room behind the shocks. So shouldn't be going nowhere. It's pretty solid. I've jacked up the truck pretty much with it. And yeah, probably gonna pretty close to call it a night on this, and probably the end of the video. I'll have to continue on the rest of it for I guess the next part. This won't take too long. It'll be more of the hydraulic and the hydraulic tank. So let's see how I need to do that. I'll have to get some bolts for that and get that welded up. Pretty well hit with paint, and then I won't know more about that until later. But yeah, thank you for watching, and hope you guys enjoyed.